For as long as any of us have been drawing breath in this industry, the arrival of a brand new machine on site has been the ultimate flex. When a contractor rolls out a fleet of gleaming, low hour excavators onto a project, they aren't just bringing tools, they're bringing an image of reliability, prosperity, and technological dominance. It tells the client that the firm is prosperous, successful, and far too professional to be caught out by downtime caused by aging hardware. We've built an entire culture around that new cab smell and pristine counterweights that are free from scars. But we're reaching a point now where that shiny new metal is starting to look like a massive collective delusion. There is a slow dawning realization creeping through the automotive sector that might just hold up a mirror to our own backyard. We've been told for years that the path to a green future is paved with new purchases, that if we just keep swapping our current cars for slightly more efficient ones, we'll save the world. It's a comfortable lie, one that encourages us to keep consuming, as long as the badge on the back says hybrid or electric or hydrogen. But the reality is far less convenient. The environmental impact of digging up the ore, smelting the steel, and shipping a vehicle across the globe creates a carbon debt that takes years of efficient operation just to pay back. We're effectively carbon laundering, trading tailpipe emissions for manufacturing emissions and patting ourselves on the back for what we consider to be an upgrade. If the automotive world is beginning to accept that we might just have to stick with what we've already got, then the construction and demolition sectors are next in line for that same wake up call. We have to confront the idea that the most sustainable machine possibly isn't the one that's yet to be built. It's probably the one currently sitting in your yard, perhaps with a bit of paint missing and a few thousand hours on the clock. That's not making do, it's about a total revolution in how we value equipment. It means moving away from a world where we scrap a machine because the lease is up or because a newer model has a slightly fancier touchscreen in the cab. But to make this work, we're going to have to dismantle the entire financial and mechanical architecture of this industry. And it starts with the way that we build the kit in the first place. For years, the trend has been toward complexity and sealed for life components that make repair a headache and replacement the only default option. If we're going to expect a demolition rig to pull a 20-year shift, we're going to need to go back to the drawing board. We need machines built for the long haul, heavy duty chassis that can outlive their power plants, designed with modularity in mind. Imagine a world where instead of binning a machine because diesel has gone out of favour, you simply pull out the engine block and slide in a hydrogen fuel cell or a battery pack. The bones of the machine stay the same, but the heart is updated. Now that leads us into the murky waters of finance. The 3-year operating lease is the enemy of sustainability. It's designed to keep the production lines humming and the secondary market flooded with young, used equipment. It's a treadmill that encourages us to treat machines like disposable vapes. We need to move toward an evergreen model. Instead of a 3-year cycle, we should be looking at 10 or 15-year partnerships. The finance deal shouldn't just be about the capital cost. It should be a service agreement that includes a mandatory midlife remanufacture. Because remanufacturing is actually where the real magic happens. It's not a quick spray job and a new set of filters. It's a factory grade rebirth. You take a machine that's worked for 5, 6, 7 years, strip it back to bare metal, ultrasonically test the welds and replace every wearing part until it rolls out with the latest specification and a fresh warranty. In that future, the manufacturers stop being salespeople and start being stewards of the metal they put into the world. Their pride shifts from how many units they've shifted this quarter to how many of their machines are still in peak condition after 2 decades of hard labour. But the biggest hurdle isn't engineering or finance. It exists in the space between our ears. We've spent decades telling ourselves and our clients and our bank managers that a new machine is a sign of a healthy business. We use it as a marketing tool. Look at our modern fleet, we say, implying that anything older is a liability that will lead to project delays. We have to kill that snobbery. We need to reach a point where showing up with a 15-year-old machine isn't a cause for embarrassment, but a source of pride. Imagine a tender process where the client doesn't ask for the average age of your fleet, but for your stewardship record. They want to see how much life you've squeezed out of your equipment and how well you've maintained it. In such a brave new world, a spotless, perfectly tuned older machine becomes a badge of honor. It says your company has the discipline to look after its assets and the skill to maintain complex systems and the integrity to not buy new metal just for the sake of appearances. It's a shift from a culture of use and discard to a culture of care and preserve. Now, that also changes the status of the people in the workshop. For far too long, the mechanics and service techs have been our unsung heroes, often seen as a necessary cost rather than a value add. But if we move to a model of longevity, those people could become the most important players in the company. We'll be looking for master technicians, craftsmen who don't just swap parts on a diagnostic code, but who understand the very soul of the machine. Ultimately, we're talking about a future where we're judged on the care we take of our machines rather than our willingness to constantly buy new ones. It's a future that would unquestionably demand more of us, more discipline, better engineering, and a much thicker skin when the salesman comes knocking with the latest must have model. But environmentally, at least, that's the only future that actually makes sense. Yes, it is easier to buy a new machine than it is to maintain an old one. But we can't keep digging holes in the ground just so we can build machines to dig more holes in the ground.